Hey, everybody, and welcome back to For the Booze.
For the Booze.
That's right.
We are back.
We are.
Took our yearly vacation at a different time this year.
Yes, we did.
It coincided with Megan's vacation and my birthday.
Yeah.
It was nice.
It was nice.
It was really nice.
It was very, very nice.
I really needed a break.
Yeah.
From all this editing. But we are back. There are going to be some changes coming for the show.
Yes.
We'll get into that maybe at the end.
Okay.
But something happened to me while we were gone. And for my birthday, my wife granted me the gift of vision. Yes. And now I can see.
I know.
Now,
look at that.
Now I have the ability to see things.
No more squinting at literally everything and the largest font size you could have on your phone.
Hey.
I
needed it to read. Check them out, man. My Armani
I know.
glasses.
Bougie.
But this week we're doing an episode for one. It's kind of an homage to one of our longest running show friends, Mr. Joe Mattern.
Joe Mattern.
That's right. You were the inspiration for this because we've talked about this place many a times, and he's been there.
Yes.
And we are going to talk about the Cambria County Jail, but it's also known as the Old Stone Jail, and it's in Ebensburg. I keep wanting to say like Ebensburg and Ebensburg. I want to say everything but the name, but it's in Ebensburg, Pennsylvania. And believe it or not, you've probably seen this place because I believe Ghost Hunters and maybe even Ghost Adventures, and I also think Destination Fear went here.
Okay.
I didn't really know a lot about this until Joe. I think Joe has actually talked to me about it the most. It doesn't seem to be one of these places that's super like well covered, I guess.
Okay.
Like people aren't going there because it's not
a super sought out place.
Well, it's
or
not
anything.
it's not
Right.
it's not the Lizzie Borden House or Waverly or all those places.
All the big names. Yeah.
But it's a jail in Ebensburg, and it goes way back in history.
I love jails. I love when we do jails. They're some of my favorite.
You love jail? That is a very strange statement to make here on the show.
When we talk about haunted jails.
My wife loved jails. So if you're in jail listening on the podcast, write her a letter.
No thanks.
But we are going to go ahead and get into this. Let's do this. I'm very, very interested in this topic, and I have a few thoughts about it at the end that I will probably forget to mention because I seem to always do that.
Yeah, right.
But let's do this.
All right, let's do it.
Ebensburg originated in November 1796 when Congressional Minister Rhys Lloyd led a small party of 20 Welsh people from Philadelphia to the lands Morgan John Rhys had chosen for his colony. 1796. This goes way back.
Wow.
They selected an attractive spot in the tops of the Allegheny Mountains, and there settled would become Ebensburg, naming it for Eben Lloyd, who died in childhood. Now, Lloyd offered land to the government in exchange for Ebensburg becoming the county seat, which the government accepted. In 1796, pioneer huts popped up everywhere around the gully and creek, running down from the, quote, Big Spring toward Conemaugh River.
That looks right.
Yeah, we'll just run with that.
Yeah.
Joe, you'll have to let me know. Now, the spring located on Crawford Street provided plenty of natural potable water to the community for over 150 years without ever going dry.
Wow. That's a really long time.
So this went from just being like a gully, like a little valley area.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden one day...
It was a town.
It was a town.
Yeah.
Houses started popping up everywhere.
It was super cool.
Conemaugh.
Yeah, pick a cozy little quaint spot and here you go,
Conemaugh.
It looks like Conemaugh. I think that's right.
I don't know. During the Civil War, men from Ebensburg served in the 133rd Pennsylvania Volunteer Infantry, particularly Companies A, B, and F, and fought in Alabatch's Brigade, Humphrey's 3rd Division at Fredericksburg, and Chancellorsville. In the Battle of Fredericksburg on December 13, 1862, the 133rd participated in the final charge on Mary's Heights, I believe, suffering heavy losses.
Oh, God.
So why do I add this kind of stuff in here if you're listening? Because now we know a war took place here.
Yep.
You know,
a lot of people lost their lives.
Pioneers settled here. That's a rough life to begin with.
Oh,
and then
absolutely.
After the fact, we have civil war happening on, in this area.
Yep.
So people have obviously died here throughout, history. Ebensburg's early settlement and its importance was established as a Pennsylvania turnpike route, securing its position as a center of commerce and service for travelers along an east-west route. From 1850 to 1915, Ebensburg saw the completion of railroads, railroad-era tourism, and the rise and impact of the automobile, while from 1915 to 1961, the borough saw rebuilding after several devastating fires and adjusted to automobile-oriented commerce, which changed travel and spending habits until the opening of the Route 22 downtown bypass in 1961. Dude, I can read so much better now.
Yay!
It's so weird. So, I don't know. I feel like they progressed really fast.
Right.
I feel
like all the big things that make a town, and the growth that follows.
In roughly
it's all there.
120 years, they went from pioneer huts to, automobile-oriented commerce and railroads. And
yeah.
So this area blew up really fast.
That's super cool.
It's very impressive.
Yeah.
To date, 3 log houses remain from the pioneer period, including Cambria County's oldest structure, the Hughes Roberts Homestead, built in 1799, located on East High Street. Now, other log structures are the David Shinkle House, built in 1825 on Shinkle Mill Road, and the Griffith Homestead, built in 1810 on the Wilmore Road.
Wow.
So I guess they still stand today.
Shinkle.
It reminds me... Could be Skinkle. I don't know. Shinkle sounds more right. It reminds me of the house out in Tintic.
Yes.
That's what it reminds me of. I think that one might be older, though.
We found like an old pioneer house that you could go in and tour, and it was so cool.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
I can never remember the guy's name, but he's a famous Mormon outlaw.
Porter Rockwell.
Yeah. I'm going to edit it so it sounds like I said that. No, it's super rad. They moved it. It's not in its original location, but very cool. That's what this reminds me of.
Yep.
I wonder if you can go in these and look around if they've kept it historically accurate and everything.
I don't know.
Now, this mountain town was the hub of our young nation's last great push westward over the Appalachians. Early newspaper accounts describe High Street as being lined with Conestoga wagons and migrants staying in such early lodgings as the Berry Hill Inn, California House, Cambria House, and the Mountain House. These are all historic places that pioneers moving westward lodged in.
Okay, gotcha.
And Conestoga wagons they're what you think.
Okay.
They're what you envision.
Like a covered wagon.
It's the one that you envision with, cowboys sitting up front.
Yeah.
And, the canvas top. Because I had to look that up. I was like...
Is it different?
Yeah. And it's not. It's the one you think.
Okay.
I guess it'd be the most famous one.
Yeah.
The cornerstone for Cambria County's new prison was laid in 1870, using stone that was quarried in the nearby town of Revlock. The large, quote, castle-like section and surrounding stone wall of the jail was completed 2 years later in 1872. The cost was a staggering $73,000. Now, that's equivalent to $1,754.72 today.
Wow.
That's an expensive jail.
Yeah.
I don't believe this is a very big jail either.
Oh my God.
It's the construction. It's a very cool looking jail. It does look like a castle.
Right. I love when you do the equivalents to today's money because back in 1870?
1872, yeah.
Okay. They, we're building it and you hear $73,000 and you're like, that ain't nothing. But converted to today's money, it's crazy.
We're pretty poor. 73,000. I would take that.
100%.
I would love to have that. Now, during the early 1870s, there was a major effort by the people of Johnstown to have the county seat moved from Ebensburg to their more rapidly growing city. It is entirely possible that the jail planners may have built and paid for a building which was a little larger than they actually needed at the time in order to solidify Ebensburg's status as the county seat. What a move.
Yeah.
Now, talk of moving the county seat started to die down following the construction of the new jail, and it completely died off in 1882 when the current courthouse was built. Now, the architect selected for the job was Edward Haviland. We've talked about Havilands in the past.
Yeah.
I cannot remember for certain if it's the same Havilands.
Is this like the guy that keeps popping up?
No.
The builder?
You're thinking of Kirkbride.
Okay.
But Haviland we have had pop up in the past.
I do remember that name, yes.
But this is the son of a Haviland. Okay, Edward Haviland was the son of John Haviland, who, according to a notice of his death, quote, studied law and was admitted to the bar of Philadelphia soon after he became of an age. And I think it was John Haviland who we've talked about in the past.
Oh.
But again,
so maybe
I'm not sure.
It was his dad that we talked about previously.
It is possible. I'm just not sure.
Right.
I wasn't able to make for certain the connection, but I do think it was John Haviland that we've spoke about before.
Okay.
He practiced his profession, but only for a short time. Following the Mexican War, Haviland supposedly became an architect and worked with his father. However, Haviland appears in the Philadelphia city directories as an attorney from 1849 through 1853. After a brief period in Chicago, Edward Haviland settled in York, Pennsylvania, and among his projects for the period were Dr. Gurley's Presbyterian Church at Washington, the high school building at York, the county prison at Easton, Clearfield, Williamsport, Mock Chunk, Ebensburg, Coudersport, and Reading, I think it's Coudersport, a Presbyterian church, I don't know why I said it like that, at Hollidaysburg, and an almshouse at Reading. Now, at the time of his death, quote, he was engaged in building high-end residences at York for Honorable J.S. Black and E.G. Smizer, Esquire.
Wow. So that's a lot of stuff.
It is, especially for a man who wasn't listed as an architect.
Right.
I guess technically he's an attorney.
Wow. That is crazy.
But I
so many things.
I would venture to say that the John Haviland is the John Haviland we've mentioned, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it was just like a family thing. I'm not sure how this would have all worked back then.
Okay.
But I do find it very interesting that you'd really be proud of your son, architect and lawyer.
Right. All the things.
Man, why couldn't you be a doctor too, man?
Just add it to the list,
Come on,
son.
dude.
Jeez.
Now, the prison is built of light-colored sandstone, roughly 130 feet in length by 56 feet wide, and a tower in front. The celling department, which is 100 by 56 feet, contains a lower and upper tier and has 14 cells in it. It's not huge.
Right.
It's not small, but it's not as big as like other jails we've talked about in the past. Mm-hmm. This one seems to be
more on the medium side.
But it's one of the nicer ones.
Okay.
If you see the pictures, it's very cool looking. I mean, it's very gothic and ominous looking as a jail, but it's great architecture. He did a good job.
Wow.
But it's just not the biggest jail we've talked about by a long shot. Now, the cells are 15 by 8 and 9 feet high in the center. They are arranged with water closets, warm air, and one ventilating register, and are sufficiently lighted. The floors are wooden and underlaid by iron plates. The inside door is made out of wrought iron bars, and the outside made of heavy oak, both with heavy and approved bolts and locks. The floor in the corridor is made out of German tile, and the building itself is surrounded by a substantial stone wall 22 feet high. I want you to think about that. The floor there's iron flooring underneath the floor, and then the doors is wrought iron and heavy oak.
You're not going anywhere.
They really did not want anybody getting out of here.
You're not going anywhere.
I mean, I don't think we've ever talked about a place that did something like that.
And a 22-foot high wall if you do somehow get out.
Well, a lot of these things are going to come into play when I read this next story, because there's a famous story from this place.
Oh.
A total of 11 men were executed by hanging in Ebensburg. Now, one man, Michael Smith, known as Old Smitty to the guards, was scheduled to hang, but vanished in the night before his hanging. He is known in folklore as, quote, the man who could not hang.
What?
This is an interesting story. Now, Michael Smith had several nicknames. His most well-known is Smitty. Other sources also listed Mickey and Peg Leg. He had one leg. Michael Smith, at some point in his life, had his right leg amputated below the knee. One source stated that he was a married man with 7 children. By all accounts, he was actually well respected and well liked by his community. At the time of the murder, Smitty was a constable employed by Cambria Iron Company. On August 26, 1883, Smitty was in a local bar known as Holleran's Saloon. He and John Minahan began one of their usual arguments. They're kind of like the 2 old guys at the bar who,
just argue with each other constantly.
Yeah, it was probably like just a heated conversation. I wouldn't, something like that.
I wouldn't say like fight, but
yeah, it's like the normal thing.
Yeah.
Now, Smitty and Minahan had been friends at one time, but a disagreement over who killed a deer led to the dissolution of their friendship. And on this night, the argument went way too far.
Over who killed a deer?
Yeah, but this is a different time.
I get
this
it.
This could have been how they fed their families,
I get it, but I don't know. It just sounds funny.
Well, regardless, it was handled in a serious way. Now, even though he was off duty, Smitty attempted to arrest Minahan. Minahan refused, and eventually Smitty drew his service revolver and fired on the man. The bullet hit Minahan in the right eye, and he was rushed to the hospital where he died a few days later. Now, Smitty was arrested. He confessed to killing Minahan, but blamed excessive alcohol for what had happened. However, unfortunately for him, during his spring trial, Smitty was sentenced to hang in October at the Old Stone Jail in Ebensburg.
Wow.
Terrible.
You're gonna shoot your eye out, kid.
Was this ever a plausible way to fight a case? It was excessive alcohol, so clearly it was not me who did it.
I mean, you still did it.
I just wonder if
whether you were super drunk or not.
I'm just curious. Was that ever like a feasible defense, tactic at some point in time?
That'd be interesting to know. If like the 1800s, it was different from nowadays.
Well, I'm sure it was, but I just don't know.
It didn't work for him.
I just don't know if they were like, well, he was drunk, so clearly send him home.
Didn't work for Smitty.
Obviously. Now, on the night of August 30th, 1884, Smitty disappeared. Somehow, he managed to escape his locked cell. Remember that locked cell. Steel plate floor.
Wrought iron doors.
With heavy oak around it. Crazy. Smitty left a letter on his bed for the warden. It's unknown, however, what he wrote in this letter, and he was never seen or heard from again.
Come on, I want to know what he said.
Nobody but the warden knows.
Oh my God.
It is believed that Smitty must have had help. One inmate reported that on the night of August 30th, he saw a man wandering around in the dark. Now, this man periodically tried the doors to the cell block. He also occasionally said the name Bert. Bert will come into play.
Okay.
The inmate claimed he was sure that the person wandering around was Smitty. Now, the person referred to as Bert could have been Bert Luther, a guard and the son of the local sheriff. Another thing noticed by the inmate was the night watchman, James Myers, that should have been on duty, but for some reason wasn't there.
Oh, it's an inside job.
Sounds that way.
Wow.
Now, Smitty's absence wasn't noticed until about 5 a.m. on August 31st. The sheriff quickly put up a $300 reward. Now, today, that would be equivalent to $9,636.
Oh, my God.
And honestly, though, I want to point this out. Rewards are more than that now, though.
Oh, yeah.
They're way more.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean by even by the equivalent. So, that's really not that much money.
I mean, I'm sure at the time it was a whole lot of money.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? All right, so it's $300 reward, which is equivalent to $9,000 today. But most reward, money starts at about $10,000 now, which would be, I guess, $310, we'll say. So really, even converted backwards, to make the prices match up, this is still kind of low.
I don't know.
In my opinion.
I don't know.
You're talking about a guy who killed a guy who was sentenced to hang, though. So if you're, you clearly think that he is a threat to the community.
Right.
So you'd want to get him back.
I don't know. I still feel like it's a lot of money.
It's not. I promise. What are you going to pay? A few car payments with that?
Quite a few, actually.
Actually, no. Now that I think about it. Never mind. The murder victim's brother, William Minahan, met with the sheriff at the prison. William was informed that Smitty had somehow gained access to the jail cellar, and while there, he sawed off the locks to 3 doors. However, the lock on the front door had not been tampered with and was still locked. So even if he did that, there was still a door that was locked.
Right.
This is a very strange story.
And I would assume that 2 of the other people that were in the part of his escape had keys.
Supposedly. Allegedly.
Right.
Allegedly
That's
part of his escape.
But I'm just saying, they could easily unlock and lock the door back.
Well, we don't know that. We don't know who held keys for the locks. Because not everybody will always have the keys. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it'll be like, this person has this key, which is why they all have to get together when they bring prisoners in and out, to unlock certain doors. No explanation was given for how an individual with a wooden leg could have gotten out of the prison yard without going through the front door. James Myers' absence was never addressed either. Of course, over the years, people started to talk about how he could have escaped. Some people over the years believe that Smitty went over the 22-foot-high stone wall on a ladder left by workmen fixing the roof. It had been noted that there were hoof prints and wagon tracks on the ground outside of the prison wall. So a one-legged man climbed a ladder and jumped a 22-foot stone wall. I just don't know.
Did he have the wagon and horses organized?
He would have had to. You were right. This clearly has to be an inside job of some kind. There had to be somebody helping him.
Absolutely.
There's no way that this man, there just wouldn't have, there's no way that a wagon and horses would have just been there.
There's so many parts and pieces.
This would be a good movie.
I
wonder if there is a movie based on this.
Oh, that'd be good to know.
I don't know. And if I sound weird, I am getting over being sick too. I'm sorry. But yeah, there has to be multiple people, and this is like we're going to call this Ocean 6 because it was so long ago. We weren't quite up to 11 yet. Yeah. So now a witness reported seeing a horse and buggy speeding past a farm around 1 a.m. Now this led many to believe it's how he escaped. Logically. One former inmate had claimed that he had witnessed Smitty's mother pay Bert Luther a large sum of money. Maybe, I don't know. We're just going off of one guy's word here. Luther fell under suspicion when a few months later, 4 more inmates escaped during his watch. The locals seemed to ignore the fact that these 4 inmates beat Bert Luther bloody and left him locked in a cell.
Oh my God.
So that's what I'm saying. So it's easy to believe one guy who said, he was paid off. But,
right.
And when people talk about the story, they leave out the fact that these inmates beat him half to death and shoved him in a cell. That doesn't sound like they paid him. That sounds like they beat him up. I don't know, man. I'm just saying, normally you wouldn't, okay. So if you think about it, it doesn't make sense for them to beat you within an inch of your life. Yes, maybe they hit you over the head and knock you out and shove you in a cell. That's, right. That's believable, but they're not going to beat you half to death.
No, but how did the doors get open in the first place? Then maybe they got out because Luther helped them. Then they were like, we don't need you anymore.
This is like an ongoing Ebensburg mystery today.
Wow.
So don't expect an answer to this.
This is crazy.
It's a good story.
Yeah.
After this event, Luther was actually forced to resign, as the people suspected him of helping inmates escape, and his father was voted out as sheriff.
Oh, God.
Now, there has never been any credible evidence to support Bert Luther helping Smitty escape.
Wow.
That sucks, man.
Wow.
That sucks because what if he didn't? He's probably got a family to support.
Right.
So that's, and I don't know. I hate when people take the actions of people's children and use it against them and something else, like how his father was voted out. He didn't do anything. From everything I saw, he was a decent sheriff. So it's not fair.
It is not.
Eventually, an additional $1,000 was added to the reward, increasing it to $1,300, just over $40,000 in today's money. Now we're talking. I go out there and I'll be super sleuth for that kind of money.
Yeah, right.
I'll be on the hunt. Just call me Sherlock Holmes.
Be on the hunt.
Oh, yeah. Now, he was then also wanted dead or alive, and many professional and amateur detectives began a manhunt for the reward, obviously.
Yeah, I bet.
That's a lot of money back then.
I bet.
Many men with wooden legs were arrested and held until they could prove they were not Smitty.
Rude.
It's very
rude.
It's very rude.
Oh my God.
I don't like
those
that.
poor guys.
I don't like that.
Stop.
Remember that this is 1884 and we're post-Civil War and in a time of steel mills, coke furnaces, rail yards, and mining. Health codes and safety regulations hardly existed, and many people lost limbs to war and work. The detectives followed Smitty's mother and wife, believing they would find his hiding place. And in May of 1885, Smitty's 3-year-old son passed away. But he never showed up to the funeral. Not a peep was heard from him when his wife remarried in 1887. Girl, I'm going to tell you right now, if I was alive and you remarried, I'd be there. I'd be there.
Wow. Nothing. No one heard anything.
Okay, but look, we've read this in the context of Smitty escape. What if he was killed?
Yeah.
What if something like that happened?
Yeah. Because I tell you, if this was me and I escaped and I disappeared and my kid died, I'm coming back for that. Sorry.
There's also the possibility of what if he was there, but he was in disguise or something and they didn't know it was him?
I mean, be a pretty dang good disguise then. Bravo.
Or the cops were really dumb.
Yeah, that too.
I mean, it could be either or. I mean, detective work wasn't quite as good as it is now.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Smitty failed to show up at his mother's funeral in 1890. No one has ever heard from Michael Smitty Smith since he escaped certain death. He moved from escaped prisoner to myth, becoming the man they could not hang.
Wow, that was a crazy story. I like that.
He is a legend.
Wow.
So,
bravo, Mr. Smitty. I don't know how you did it, buddy.
Unless they killed him.
Yeah.
That's my only other theory behind that is if he didn't escape, or maybe he did escape and he died on the outside, or I don't know. Or I just have a feeling the way old jails worked was maybe they beat him a little too much and he died and they were like, he escaped. And it's all just...
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
And it's all just a story on their end to cover it up.
Wow. Didn't even think about that.
It happened, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The hygiene in the prison in 1904 was less than to be desired, to say the least. One of the rules back then was every 10 days or thereabouts, every prisoner in the jail was made to take a bath. This left the place smelling exactly how you would think.
10 days.
Disgusting.
10.
The BO was rampant. You still love jail?
No. No.
Now, the prison was almost always overcrowded. 123 men would be confined in only 27 cells. That's 4 to 5 men per cell. And remember, the cells are 15 by 8 by 9. And at times, there were as many as 16 bodies confined in one cell at a time.
I'm sorry. What?
Yeah.
What are they just like, all right, I'm going to sleep on bottom tonight. And they just like keep rotating and stacking people to sleep? Like, what are we doing?
I'm sure they probably sat like sleeping, sitting up. I'm sure it was terrible.
Oh.
In 1911, the new annex with 52 additional cells was constructed. And in 1997, the prison was abandoned.
Wow.
There are many reported hauntings that the Cambria County Jail holds. The prison built gallows where they would execute men. 11 men were hung or executed within the walls of Cambria County Jail. Citizens in those years could buy a ticket to watch people get hung on certain days for entertainment because they had no electricity that was available to them. So there's no TV. This is what people did for fun. And if it sounds crazy, just remember history. We've got the Coliseum where we watched people get ripped to shreds by lions and each other. And then there also have been a ton of other, stories of people showing up to hangings for entertainment purpose. This is how they dealt with execution back then. But I feel like it makes people bloodthirsty.
Yeah, agreed. I think it'll cause more things to happen, like not good things.
Well, it makes people want people to be guilty.
Right, so they can watch it again.
Exactly.
See it again.
So therefore, guilty verdicts, I bet, came down a lot more frequently.
Oh, yeah.
Could you imagine bringing like your children, be like, we're going to go watch the man get hung today? It's hanging day, little Timmy.
Get up, buddy. Oh, God.
Grab your Lunchable. Let's go. Now, when people tour the jail, it's claimed that they hear screams and feel cold breezes coming from the gallows. In addition to the 11 hangings, many other prisoners, of course, died there. In the last years of the prison's active use, a prisoner in the new section slit his wrists so that he could get out and see his wife, who was a nurse in the local hospital. However, he was not found until he bled to death.
Oh, no. I mean, good plan. Good plan. But
was it?
But it
you did too good of a job.
It did.
I'm just saying. It didn't
come out the way it was supposed to turn out.
I get it. Like, I get why he did it.
Yeah.
It was probably lonely. Jails back then were probably horrible.
Absolutely.
Wanted to see his wife. He figured out a loophole. Unfortunately, they didn't come to check on him in time, and he died. And that's sad.
It's so sad.
Because it's not like he was trying to escape jail. He really just wanted to go see his wife.
Yeah, he just wanted to say, like, bye. You know, if he was up for hanging.
It'd be worth it.
You know?
I'd do it.
Yeah, I would too.
It'd be worth it. His cell was removed to make way for a bathroom for the record staff, and it is believed that he returns to relive his last few desperate minutes. People have reported hearing a man crying or moaning in that area. The jail was even featured as a haunted location on Season 3 of Paranormal Lockdown, a popular television show on Destination America. Now, the jail also appeared on Season 2 of Destination Fear on the Travel Channel, as well as a number of YouTube videos. I couldn't remember which ones they were.
Paranormal Lockdown?
Yep.
Oh, I love that show.
So did I.
So good.
Unfortunately, it just
fizzled out. Yeah.
Now, Nick and Katrina ventured to the jail to investigate the hauntings and also to see what happened to Smitty. They met with someone from the corrections service, and they told them the story of Smitty, as well as a personal experience they had when they saw a man at the top of the bullpen, but as they approached it, it just vanished. This was after lockdown, when roll call had already been taken and all the prisoners had been accounted for. From the outset, you could tell this was going to be an eventful investigation, and thus far aired one of the more interesting ones of the season, which when I was putting this together, I actually do remember this episode.
Not vividly. I kind of remember.
Well, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't remember details, but I remember watching it.
It's been such a long time since we watched that show.
Didn't that show end in like 2016, or did it start in 2016 and only went for a couple years?
I don't know, but it's been a while.
It's been a long time.
It's been a while.
There were numerous orbs, light anomalies flying around, and also many random noises such as doors banging and footsteps. Nick used the geobox and received various voices coming through. The pair also heard Dungeon Smitty and many other words come through which needed to be investigated, since Nick and Katrina were the first ones to investigate here. I have a hard time saying the name Katrina.
Really?
I keep wanting to say Kintrina.
Kintrina?
I don't know why. Oh. It just comes out that way.
Oh.
I think it's also because I'm still a little stuffy. Nick chose to spend the first night on the catwalk where the presence of a large man has allegedly been seen, leaving the geoport on to detect any voices. He was awakened by noises, and when he analyzed the recordings the next day, he caught, quote, "the town ruled" and "money." Nick's name comes through again as if he was drawn to that dungeon, supposedly. Allegedly. In the dungeon, they heard noises again and growling. Also, they caught what sounded like deep breaths, too. Now, Nick decided to stay in the dungeon by himself and heard more growls, as well as turning off his night vision to show how dark it was down there. That's when Nick said he saw a man pass him with a scruffy beard. It wasn't me, I promise. When examined, there seemed to be some sort of dark figure on screen, but it wasn't clear enough to be sure. And they went on to have many more experiences during their time there. And I did see like the pictures from it, and it does look like maybe a shadow was there.
But it was like when he turned his IR off that he saw. Okay.
Now look, I loved this show, but just like most TV shows, I'm not going to really comment on whether I think it's real or not real.
Right.
But they do tend to, I'm going to say, overreact, because it makes it more interesting.
It does.
And I do understand that. As long as you understand that, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of that happening here.
Okay. I do too.
You know, I really don't believe in orbs and stuff like that. There's just always too many other possibilities of what it could be. bugs and dust, and people just cling.
So many things.
People cling to orbs like they're just, the end all be all.
Jinx.
Stop taking my lines. Now, if you're interested in seeing more, go watch the episode. We did see it years ago, and remember, it was a pretty good one. I do remember that. And no matter how you feel about the duo or paranormal in general, it's a good episode, and Nick and Katrina, they do have good chemistry.
They do.
We miss it.
Yeah, absolutely. And are you sure it wasn't you? Because that beard is really scruffy.
I'm growing it out for the women.
I know, I like it.
Now, and a review I found on Google from about 3 weeks ago, which would be probably 5 weeks ago now because we just got back from our break, by a user named Joe Mattern.
We know Joe.
Yeah, and it says, quote, "We booked a flashlight tour for 8/31/24. Now, there were 3 people in our group. Upon arrival, we were met by Diane. Now, Diane was fantastic throughout the tour guide. I would recommend her tours for lovers of history, the paranormal, or just architecture. On to the paranormal. We did not expect to have experiences. We spoke to a spirit called Old Smitty by flashlight. We had a button flashlight that would act like it was going to shut off. My father-in-law's finger was nowhere near the button, and it was in the middle of the flashlight. The flashlight went completely off at one point in the basement, and then we started an impromptu session and got several responses. P.S. They were brand new flashlights with brand new batteries. No one else's flashlight was having problems either, and it is working completely fine once we left. Now, normally, I would say I just don't buy the flashlight thing, but I do trust Joe. I've had tons of conversations with him. He's well aware of how people fake these things.
Yeah.
And I believe Joe. I do. I trust him.
Yeah, I do too.
But this is the end of the story. It's because there's not a lot known, or there's not a lot talked about when it comes to this place. A lot of people have been there, but it's a lot of the same stuff, that everybody else experiences, which in a way is kind of, I don't know, it tells me that people aren't making up new stuff constantly to keep it relevant, which is honestly probably why there's not a lot. And
I feel that speaks so many volumes to the place.
How many volumes does it speak?
So many volumes.
I don't think that's how you say that, but you know what? You're cute, and we'll let that go. Mm-hmm. It does speak volumes.
It speaks all the volumes. Okay.
We'll turn it up.
Turn it up.
Turn it up. Freedom rock. But a lot of people have been here. Some shows have been here. Mm-hmm. It's not a super popular or well-known one, but I just don't think that counts against it. I feel more like it counts, in its favor.
Absolutely.
To be honest, because people aren't going there and just doing outrageous, crazy things. It's a very awesome looking building. And the story of Old Smitty is super rad.
So cool. Are you kidding me?
I love
what
that
a legend.
Story. But we did want to cover this because of Joe. Joe has been a friend of the show all the way back since we did Crescent.
Yep.
He came on and started, talking to us and everything during Crescent. Was the first time I think I communicated with him. So thank you, Joe, for your support. You've been with us a long time.
Yes.
With all this being said,
okay,
we do have to ask a question.
All right.
And the question goes,
is it real?
So, Megan, what do you think about Cambria County Jail, or the Old Stone Jail? Do you believe it's haunted?
Well, I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot here to go off of. Mm-hmm. But like you said, I think that adds so much to the place. I think the land that surrounds this place and is this place had so many things that happen. And like we say all the time on the show, like things stay with the land. They stick with the land. Mm-hmm. And I think that is fuel for a fire in the jail. Whether it be people from the war, whether it be people from, working and losing limbs and dying from that, or dying in the jail, like our friend who just wanted to see his wife. So I do. I think this place is haunted, and I think it adds to it also that there's not 100 million people going in and out of there doing paranormal investigations constantly.
Yeah.
So I do. So what about you, babe?
I also do think it's haunted.
Okay.
For many reasons. One, war happened on this land. And that just seems to be anywhere Civil War happened because so many people died. Not to mention the pioneers that were on this land. And I just trust Joe. I really do. He is a very trustworthy guy. He knows what he's talking about. He is very involved in the paranormal, and he just does not seem to be the kind of person who's going to make anything up. For me, I would rather learn about these places that have too little than too much, because when you have too much, unless it's, for good reason, it just feels made up. It feels like people are making up stories. And this one doesn't feel that way. It seems like they've had the same accounts of stuff for, since people have been ghost hunting here, 97.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I do believe that there is probably something here. What that is, I'm not sure. Could it be Smitty? Sure. I don't know. Maybe he escaped, but then again, maybe he didn't, like I said. Right. And I really do believe that is a good possibility that something happened to him there, because he was somebody who had some power and he killed somebody. So they could have really took that out on him. So, yes.
Yay.
It is. I do believe that it's going to get
the big old seal of approval.
And that is the old county.
Yay, I enjoyed that.
Old county, Cambria County Jail. Couldn't get that out.
I really enjoyed that one. I like that.
It's a good one.
I like when we do the jails. There's usually so much history behind a lot of them.
So much history and mystery behind them all.
That's right. What he said.
Should be on a shirt. But we should. This is the end. But I do want to talk about some things that are going to be occurring here.
Yeah.
Some things are going to be changing on the show. A couple of things are going to be that your paranormal episodes are going to be coming every other week.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that you're only going to get a show every 2 weeks. We will still be putting out a weekly show, but we are going to be putting out we're not going to call it another podcast. It's going to be part of this, but it's going to be a new idea that's going to fill the time in between weeks that we put these out.
Yes.
It has become very taxing to edit all these, and honestly, I miss our old format where Megan used to read stories and stuff, and I want to go back to that.
Yay!
I want to do all that. And if you're new just to the videos, this is going to be new to you, but this is how we have done things for years.
Yeah.
And we had to stop when we came to video because of how hard it is to edit all this stuff. So you're still going to get reaction videos when we want to do them, because I feel like the last, couple, we're just kind of like grasping for things, and I want to do things that interest us.
Yeah.
I don't want to just do them to do them. So, but again, there still will be a weekly show.
Absolutely.
But we have something for the in-between times that are going to be a little more fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
A little more fun. And of course, we are still going to do our Patreon episodes.
Of course.
So that you have that to look forward to. And the new episodes, they will come on into video as well.
Yes.
It's not going to be... You'll just come back and check it out.
Just come back and check it out, time to time.
Now, this one I will probably put out normally. This will be a normal episode, but starting after this one will be when we start to do our new format.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm very excited.
Me too.
Because I'm looking forward to doing some new things. We've been doing the same thing for a long time. And just want to let everybody know, still waiting for that apology out there, but we haven't gotten it. If you've listened and kept up with what's been happening, the live event that happened over on Beer, Booze, and Boogeymen for the Night House when some foul things were said, and we still have yet to get our public apology or even heard. We've only heard from one of them who that didn't go so well. I mean, if you're really interested in that, I'll do a whole episode on that. I don't care. But this is going to be where we end the old Cambria County Jail. And I am super looking forward to the future of the show.
I am too.
I cannot wait to do some new things. And I can't wait to be able to sit here and do an episode and not read the whole thing.
Yay.
I miss that.
It will be more work for you because I cannot read out loud.
That's why every 2 weeks.
Power of editing.
Power of editing. As you saw with the glasses. But this is where we're going to end it. And where can they find us? Oh,
watch your glasses. Don't mess with the Armani, bro.
Just tell them where they can find us.
Well, they can find us on Instagram at @forthebooze_podcast and on Facebook at For the Booze.
That's right. You can also find us on where do I say again? On X at For the Booze. You can find us on YouTube right here at For the Booze, and you can also find us on TikTok at For the Booze. I obviously haven't posted anything recently because we've been on a break, but that'll all be started back up again. And don't forget, if you're a podcast listener, rate and review, leave 5 stars. And if you're watching and you want to help, that helps us too. And don't forget, like, share, and comment these.
Yes.
To help, let everybody know, if they're interested in all this, to come hang out.
Yeah. And it helps get our videos and everything out there more.
It does.
To more people.
That's right. So we can grow this thing. And patreon.com. It's / For the Booze _podcast at Patreon. And we need to thank the group.
Yes.
We need to thank the group.
Our people.
That's right. Our people are awesome. They stuck with us through the break. It honestly wasn't supposed to really be the break this time, but
it ended up being that.
It ended up being that, which we had talked about earlier in the year, though, because we did want to. Last year, we kind of messed up because we were like, we'll take the end of the year off. But we realized that cut into our anniversary time for the show.
Yeah. And
because on, December 27th, I believe, is the anniversary of our show every year. And we weren't here for that last year. And that kind of bummed us out. The only other break I foresee us taking this year is obviously the week of Christmas.
Yeah.
Because we have children. But Patreons. So we had some upgrades and some new members. Oh, it's so awesome, man.
So exciting.
Thank you guys so much for helping us out.
Yes, we love reaching out to you guys for comments and questions. We ask you things about the show, like, hey, do you think this would be a great idea? We take your ideas and make them into shows.
Yeah, so it's
so
good.
Great.
And they're always welcome to, comment in the Patreon and tell us, hey, maybe you should do this. And 9 times out of 10, we will do it.
Absolutely.
But we need to thank, this is going to be her permanent nickname, but you are top tier Jen Kim. I just like it. It sounds good to me. And we have the murderous Tina Madot. I also love that one.
I know.
These are going to be, I'm going to try to go very Halloween with these ones. And then we've got Joe the Monster Mattern. Pretty good, right?
Oh, yeah.
Pretty good.
That's a good one.
And those are our, our decision maker tier Patreons now. And you guys are great.
Super great. You guys are so awesome.
And then in our producer level, we also love these guys so much.
So much.
We have Teresa. Oh my God, it's a ghost. O'Donnell. I said these last week. I don't care. I'm rolling with it. I'm going with it. Lovely. Terry, you're great. And I saw you on our TikTok, and thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for getting it active over there. We appreciate you. And a new one, but not new to the show by any means, is Eric Belial. And is that how you say that? I always feel like I'm messing it up, but that is how I believe. I believe it's Belial.
Okay. Eric, welcome to Patreon.
You've been literally a top fan as far as Facebook knows for quite a long time.
Yes.
And some of our Patreons have reached out to my personal Facebook have been friends. And I got to say, Eric and his wife look like they have a lot of fun.
Yeah?
Yeah. They look like they do really awesome stuff. They just went to, you know what? That's none of my business. I'm not going to say where you are. But they just went somewhere that I know you would be very jealous of. Very.
What?
And they just, look like they have a lot of fun. So to all our Patreons, thank you so much. You really do make all this possible, or, it's amazing.
Yes, thank you guys, and we will see you in the next episode of Behind the Booze.
That's right. What are you trying to get me out of here? All right, and I guess that's where Megan says we're going to end it. So take us out.
Well, thank you everybody so much for listening, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye. Watch out for Smitty.